Hey team, today's Smile Mountain Guides is going to show everyone how to perform a multi-pitch rappel transition on ice. We'll discuss building an anchor in ice to attach ourselves to while on rappel. We'll talk about building threads to rappel off of using ice as our medium, and a couple tricks and tips along the way. First, Isaac's placing 2 screws in good ice with about 60 centimeters of separation between the two. As Isaac places these screws, one indicator of a solid placement is to have a uniform core coming out the tube. This generally is a good marker for solid ice with minimal air pockets. Today, Isaac's going to be using the quad to build our 2-point screw anchor. There are several other options that you can employ. We'll leave that up to you to decide what is the best method for the situation that you're in. Our first step in this process after building the anchor is to have Isaac attach himself to the anchor and then lower his weight onto the system, thus taking the weight off of his rappel device. Once Isaac is completely off the anchor, he'll start to create his V-thread. This top screw is about 60 degrees relative to where the ice meets the tube of the screw. 60 degrees creates an equilateral triangle, which generally speaking is going to be strong enough to build our 0 or V threads. He takes a 21 centimeter ice screw and tries to bore it all the way into the ice, and then he'll back out the screw. From there, he'll take a smaller screw to use as a sight, and then take his long 21 centimeter ice screw and measure the distance of the screw to create his second hole. He'll start by boring out a little small section of ice, and then once he decides where the screw is going to be placed, he'll line the screw up and then try to create another 60-degree angle from the tube meeting the ice so that the ice screws meet in the back to create an opening and a V-shaped thread.
Okay. Take that out.
So here, if you look down the sight of the screw hole, you should start to see the teeth of the lower screw come into frame.
Nice.
Awesome. If that is the case, that means that you've made a positive connect between the upper and bottom holes. And then you're able to pass your rope through, which is our next step. For multi-pitch descents on ice, it's common practice to pass your climbing rope through the system so that we don't leave any tat behind for other parties or for it to melt out in the early spring. Isaac takes a V-threader tool to pull the rope through, and now we have our naked thread. Next step is to pull all the rope through until the middle mark, and then he'll set up himself for rappel.
I think it might be easy. You think you can pull through the thread?
There we go.
The next step in the process of building this system for rappel is to add a safety backup, normally a locker draw, and that is attached to our anchor with our screws. The reason why we do this is to add a backup to our V-thread so that we can test to make sure the thread is holding properly before committing our weight to the rappel system. You'll see that Isaac is setting up for rappel, and once he's done so, he will then bounce test the thread to make sure that it doesn't fail. As you can see, Isaac will start to bounce test. And we yank pretty hard on this system because, again, we want to guarantee that the thread will not fail. Once we're satisfied that the thread is strong, we'll then break down that temporary anchor that we've been using this whole time and rappel to our next anchor station. Thanks for watching Isaac show us how to descend on a multi-pitch ice route. If you have any questions about what you saw today, feel free to ask them in the comments section and pass this along to your friends. All right, thanks.
Yep.